Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the Tin Man's Court Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting to my third and final Mr. Haunted video for you guys. This one's titled Three True Disturbed Security Guard Horror Stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera back up here for you guys, and let's just get this reaction on the road and then back. Okay, here we go.
So, I've been working as a security guard for almost 5 years now.
Okay.
For a few months out of the year, I would be transferred to several different areas of my city for work. This would normally happen if an event was being held or the construction of a new building. Either way, it was pretty much the same thing I do on the job. Sit down, do my rounds, patrol the area, etc.
You know, years ago, I always thought about applying for a job as a security guard because, hey, all you gotta do is patrol the area and just sit down in your little security office. I wouldn't mind doing it, but here lately, security guards keep experiencing some scary stuff. I don't know if I can handle that or not. Let's continue on with this guy's story.
I would mostly just watch over basic buildings like offices and government centers, but when I wasn't doing that, I'd be in a totally different area. This one night, I had been transferred over to an apartment complex that had recently been renovated. They needed security at the front gate for a couple weeks, so I was hired as gate security. Now, the security company has been in business for well over 10 years, and even then, I was still considered as under-equipped. Hell, I didn't even have a gun, which I normally didn't mind, but looking back on this story, I really wish I did. It was the fall of 2021, and I was at the gate booth of the apartment. I had been doing this for a week now, and it's the easiest job ever. Basically, you just ask for their name, who was expecting them, and press a button to open the gate. It got a bit repetitive, but I didn't mind it too much, and you couldn't argue when you're getting paid $20 an hour.
$20 an hour ain't bad.
Anyway, there I am, in my booth playing Candy Crush and whatnot when I see a car pulling up to the gate. Inside the car are two well-dressed men smoking cigars. I ask the usual who they're going to see, and they give me a name that isn't on my directory. I look through the directory and try to find the name, and when I couldn't, I tell them that I can't let them through. The man in the passenger's seat insists that the name is there, but I assured them that it wasn't. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I'm not finding a person with that name. Maybe try calling them. I bet they could help you out. However, the man begins telling me all these things about why he couldn't call him. That should have been my first red flag, but being tired and out of it, I didn't really care at first. Very politely, I told them that if they couldn't call the person they needed to see, I couldn't let them in. Both men sort of looked at each other before saying something along the lines of, "Oh, that's fine. We'll just head home. It's getting late." As they begin to back out, I see their car abruptly stop. One of them tries to open their door to see what was wrong, but couldn't get the door open. That's when he motions for me to come and asks if I could check under the car to see what might have happened. I didn't understand why the driver just couldn't get out, but I didn't want to cause drama, so I did as requested. I get on my hands and knees and look under the car, but don't see anything. The very second I get back up, the passenger is holding a gun aimed directly at my head. He tells me that if I didn't let them through, that he'd pull the trigger right here. I felt my blood run cold and nodded my head, pressing the button to let them in. They happily drive through while the passenger is still aiming his gun at me, making sure I didn't try anything. It was risky, but I called the police and they arrive in minutes as the station wasn't far.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, at first I was thinking them trying to back up their car and then they stall. That would be a good indication just to call the cops without them noticing that you're picking up the phone. I mean, he shouldn't have not left his security guard booth then just to go help out a simple problem, because I know once he got down on his knees checking and got back up, there was a guy pointing a gun at him. They were probably hitmen to go in there and kill somebody.
After showing them the two men and the vehicle on camera, police instantly recognized who they were. These men were apparently dealers of a huge underground drug operation. They would distribute illegal goods around the area and have been charged twice. What they were likely doing here was collecting payment from one of their customers, which turned out to be true. Not much ever happened after that, and that was the only time I've ever came close to being killed. I still think about it till this day, especially since it wasn't that long ago.
I didn't even think about the whole drug dealer aspect of this, but that would make sense. If they're armed, they were going to make sure that they either get their payments for the drugs that they gave this person, or they were going to literally kill them. But yeah, that is scary. Definitely don't want to be in that situation.
A few years back, prior to being sworn as a law enforcement officer, I worked as a security guard at a relatively large convention center in Dallas. It was a chill job, but I'd have to get used to the repetitive work days and shifts. Most of the time, I'd constantly find myself playing games like Wordle on my phone or scrolling through TikTok. This made time go by really fast, which I didn't mind at all. The only issue was that my shifts would commonly range anywhere from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. I'm basically what you'd consider as a workaholic, if that makes sense.
I wouldn't be able to do it. I clocked in from 6 p.m. and worked all the way to 4. I'll probably be sleeping in my office. But anyway, let's continue on with this guy's story.
Now, the convention center I worked at was abandoned as it was undergoing renovation, and the only people allowed in there were me and another guard on duty who worked on the other side. This made it notorious for druggies and trespassers to take an interest, hence why they hired security. Most of the time there was nothing to do there. You were surrounded by pure white walls, light stands, and a lot of construction equipment from building. I normally do what any other security guy did and do my rounds while patrolling the area, basically ensuring everyone is safe. The company was extra aggressive on this to avoid any possible danger to the convention center. A few weeks ago, they had an incident where 2 thieves had broken in and stole a few boxes that belonged to the convention center and got away. They didn't have security cameras installed until the week after, which didn't make sense to me as I didn't understand why they couldn't install them earlier.
Exactly. I mean, you waited until somebody actually stole something just to install them? Are you kidding me? If it's a convention center, they should have had enough money to put some security cameras in. Then you wouldn't have been able to catch the people that stole the stuff. Simple. Whoever is running that convention center is crazy.
After all of this, they decided to hire security for extra protection, though that didn't guarantee another incident wouldn't happen. One night I was instructed to work at the convention center once again. The other security guard who would sometimes work with me had abruptly quit a few days before and went to go on to make a living in real estate. Apparently, the dimwit had never heard of a 2 weeks notice before. Not that it's required, but it would allow the company to hire new staff. Because of this, I was practically the only one working that night, meaning I had to watch over my post as well as his. It was annoying as hell, but the company agreed to pay me double since I'd be doing someone else's job at the same time.
Heck yeah, you pay me double? I run both posts. even though it would be annoying as hell because you have to keep moving back and forth to yours and the other guys. I mean, I don't know why in the world the company that he's working with is so darn lazy they won't hire another guy to work in the other post, but if you get more money out of it, you got nothing to worry about.
If I can remember correctly, it was around 1 a.m., and I was sitting on my chair scrolling through Reddit when I heard something fall all the way from the main floor show. The floor show is that massive room where a lot of events are held at conventions, businesses, anime cons, expos, etc. If you've been to one of those, you know the type of place I mean. I make my way over to the floor show with my flashlight drawn and yell out a single, "Hello?" to make my presence known. It only took me a minute to see that a metal rod had fallen from one of the construction lifts. I simply picked it up and put it aside when I hear a heavy knocking echoing across the show floor. At first, I didn't know where it was coming from, and that's when I thought I could see a person on the far side of the room just standing there. I shined my flashlight over to him, telling him to get the hell out or else I'd call the police. Because he was so far, my light couldn't reach his distance. However, instead of accepting the fact that he was caught, he casually walks behind one of the pillars and goes behind it. I don't know why, but something about him just walking normally to go behind the pillar really freaked me out. I'm about 6 foot and weigh around 200 pounds, so while I was a big guy, I wasn't equipped with a weapon or anything to defend myself. I had a taser, but the real question is what this other person had or what he was capable of. I waited for what felt like forever before gathering up the courage to approach him behind that pillar. I slowly made my way over there with my taser in hand, prepared to zap him. To my surprise, the second I turned the corner of the pillar, I was shocked to find nobody. I must have fled when I wasn't paying attention, I thought. While I didn't see anyone there, I did find something that made my skin crawl. Carved into the pillar with what I could only assume was a knife was my name, followed by a creepy smiley face. And then all of a sudden I heard the most haunting, crazy laugh across the buildings. Words can't even describe the fear that I was feeling inside me. In fact, fear isn't even enough to describe what I felt. I dropped my taser and bolted out of there, calling to the police while almost in tears. You might think me as overdramatic or something, but it's not what you think. You had to be there to understand. Long story short, I called the police along with my supervisor and explained my situation to them. My supervisor had instructed me to lock all possible entrance doors to the floor show so whoever this person was couldn't leave. It took forever, but police had finally showed up and did a thorough sweep around the building. They even dispatched a canine unit to help track the scent of this person or anything that might have been left behind. Unfortunately, the police weren't able to find anyone hiding anywhere, even with the dog. That being said, however, they were able to recover a blade knife near the restrooms, presumably the one this person had used to carve my name with. I still have no idea how he knew my name or why he wrote it.
I bet you it's one of them psychotic, mentally disturbed person that broke in. And the only thing I could come up with him knowing your name is that he must have snooped around your office and might have found like paperwork that he might have signed with his name on it, or from some sort of distance he might have saw his name tag. I mean, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
My best guess is that it was some sort of tactic to try and scare me. If that was the case, he sure as hell succeeded. Also, the security cameras the convention center had installed ended up breaking down due to a circuit malfunction, so they couldn't review the footage to see who broke in.
Of course, things are going bad after another. You think you could have caught that guy going in and leaving the place, but nope. Daggum security cameras had to malfunction. I mean, are you kidding me? That will make me mad.
It was a scary situation, but at the end of the day, there was nothing any of us could really do about it. He got away with it scot-free. The following week, the company had placed me elsewhere as the convention center was undergoing additional maintenance. Last I heard, the convention center was now operational and has upped security big time after what happened. I work in law enforcement now, but I no longer do what I did when I worked security. Nowadays, I just sit in my office watching cameras in my free time, and when I'm working, I'm doing what most police officers commonly do. I'm sure many others in my field have gone through similar situations, so if you have an experience of your own, I'd love to hear it. I had to deal with more or less the same thing because I'm better trained and equipped. I can deal with it more easily. But until this day, this story still sends a chill down my spine as I constantly wonder what this person's intentions were. Was he just trying to scare me, rob me, potentially something worse? I guess I'll never know, and quite frankly, I don't want to know. Some people share their theory that it was just a prank, while others say it was a squatter. Hell, there was even one person who said that it could have been the former security guard who'd quit. Anyway, that's my story, and I'll always have something to share for the rest of my life.
I would say all of the above, because you don't know what that guy was really intending on doing. He did scare the crap out of him, that's for sure. And maybe he was trying to lure him somewhere to where he can like grab him and rob him. I don't know. But it might have been the former security guard and he was mad that he took his spot. Who knows, right? But I'm mad that the convention center did not even have no security cameras before he started his night guard shift there. But then after they waited after till another incident occurred and they put him in, they just happened to malfunction. They might have bought some cheapo equipment instead of the high tech ones.
For about 3 years now, I used to work as an overnight security guard at a shopping mall in downtown Chicago. Back then, security wasn't required, but the area it was located in saw an increase in crime, which started to become a real problem. I enjoyed my job for the most part, and while it was boring at times, I'd always find entertainment through my phone to keep myself occupied. To be honest with you, the most I'd really ever do was kick people out of the parking lot for smoking pot, who respectfully complied, I'd like to add. You would sometimes have to deal with people who vandalized the property, but that was rare to say the least.
That's sure one thing I hate about going to a mall, because there's always people that don't care about it being a public place and they might end up graffitiing somewhere in the building, or they either vaping or on drugs, like he said. I mean, if they comply when I say leave, that's fine and dandy, but if they not, they won't be laughing if I call the cops on them.
Other than that, I never actually had to deal with anyone too extreme until one night of November of 2021. If I remember correctly, it was actually the night before Thanksgiving, and I had been doing my rounds around the main area of the mall as usual. It was me and one other security guard patrolling the opposite side of the mall. During one of my rounds, I'm walking through the food court when, out of the blue, the fire alarm immediately starts going off, scaring the absolute crap out of me. Now, you might be thinking that it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but hearing alarms going off in an empty mall while alone is terrifying enough.
That would sound terrifying to me too. You ain't the only one. I mean, I'll probably pass it up as a glitch in the fire alarm system, but I bet you somebody triggered it off.
Right away, I head over to the main office of the mall to manually turn them off. There's only been one other time this has ever happened, and it was due to a malfunction in the system, so it's not like I didn't know what to do. That being said, I successfully turn it off and radio the other security guard that it was a false alarm and to disregard it. Even though it was a false alarm, I still had to make a report as management sort of cracked down on us reporting pretty much every incident that happened. Fast forward about 2 hours later, I'm doing my rounds in the food court, just kind of looking at stuff, when I decided that I would step outside to take a 5-minute smoke break. The long hours of working really took a toll on my mental health, so I would constantly have to take breaks to compose myself. Mid-break, I'm on my phone texting a friend when I began to hear it again. Alarms coming from inside the building. This time, I was more annoyed than frightened, and I get up and approach the employee entrance when I stop in my tracks and see something inside behind the glass doors. It was hard to see as the lights were off, but after a good few seconds, I could see the face of a woman staring at me from behind the door. She was not a pleasant-looking woman. Her eyes were wild, and her hair was a mess while having this look of absolute shock. I screamed my lungs out and see her run down the hallway while I'm trying to chase her. It was at this point when I realized that she had been the one triggering the alarms. I radio the other security guard and tell him to lock all of the doors in the west wing so she couldn't escape. Somehow he had managed to lock all of the doors and check the whole part of the building, but never found her. Believe me when I say we nearly tossed the place and had found no sign of her or any possible break-ins. It was the creepiest and most unnerving encounter I've ever had. Later that day, police and a few search dogs had entered the building but were unsuccessful in finding her, even after checking the cameras. I quit that job a week later as I couldn't stand the constant paranoia thinking as to where that woman could have been or if she even left. Last I heard, the mall had since been teared down, and despite a police investigation, she would never be found.
Well, that sounds like, to me, a lady that was high on some sort of drug, or she was mentally disturbed. Because no normal person would just keep on pulling the fire alarm system unless they want to create a mass panic. But luckily, there were no shoppers in the mall that time when this happened. And the fact that she still got away from them when the other guys locked the doors is really mind-boggling, unless she got there really quick and got out. Yeah, that is strange. I don't know how else to explain it. And if somebody did find that woman, I hope she does get like the proper medical care that she needs. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Mr. Haunted content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I say that's a wrap, and now that's day off.